everyone, it's me, Gary, back on Panto Archive for another Cuppa Chat. And I'm very, very excited because we're being joined by a Cuppa Chat catch-up today. So, special guest, introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. Back again. It's Damian Patton. It's great to be here again and talk to you all things Panto. Got my cup of
Yes,
tea.
thank you so much, Damian, for joining us once again. We enjoyed having you with us last time, and we said we'd want you back, so we've got you back.
Good. So I'm like to hear anything to do for Panto.
Perfect, perfect. Now, before we start, I've seen you've got your drink already. What mug have you got this time, and what you got in your drink?
Nature today. Look, I've got a little squirrel. He's playing with his, well, he's got a nut. Let's not say that. And a cup of tea. Got to be a cup of tea. Certainly, I'm in the office. Got to be a cup of tea, isn't it? Too early for anything else.
I mean, you say it's too early for anything else. I've gone with the old Star Wars mug today, so I've gone completely the other side, and I've gone with.
I should have had this, shouldn't I? Look, I should have had. Can you see that? We'll have to sip it again then.
Oh, that's brilliant! I love that.
Wait a minute. There we go. That was a little present from the producers last year. Got my little name on as well. That's nice.
That's brilliant. Panto. I love that. I love that completely. And it was from your producers, you said.
I forgot I had it. It's just been on my shelf, and then because I've not been at Panto to use it. Yeah, we got there first day rehearsals last year. We'll have to sip it again then, won't we? Woo! Evolution Productions 2023 to 4. It's got my name on as well. So
oh, that is such a nice gift, that is. That is so wonderful. I've been boring and just gone with blackcurrant again, as I always do. I mean, I'm not much of a hot drink fan, as people would know if they watch all these things. But that is a cool cup. Yeah, go with that one. Forget the squirrels. Go with that.
There you go. Squirrels in the bin. Where's the bin doing it? Got it.
Well, Damian, thank you so much for joining us once again for our Cuppa Chat series. And we've got a slightly different angle this time because we saw a little bit of your posters last time. But look, we can see them all now.
Well, I moved house, right? I moved house in August last year. And now I've got a slightly bigger office. I had a dedicated, I had a wall that was just doing nothing. And now I've put all my posters on it. So now I've got, I'm running out. I need some more wall space soon. But I've got 17 up there. You probably can't see the top ones, but you know, the last few years and the last one I did. It's nice to have them in view when I sit here. It's nice.
It is. I think it's really nice to have your bills on show, and it brings back so many happy memories, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's very good. You just look at them, and obviously I'm on most of them. Actually on the bill, so I've got a little girl who's she's 3.5 now. So when she wanders in, she's like, Daddy. She sees the posters and she tries to play with them, so it's really nice. But yeah, I mean, it brings back memories. I've got a wallet full of programs as well, and that's nice to look back on and see the rest of the cast, and they all sign it, so it's happy memories. Get them.
I was going to say, do you do anything when you come to the end of a run? Do you get the cast to sign your program or a bill or a script? What do you do as your sort of end of season thing?
I always get a program. I get several programs, but I always get a program and I get everyone to sign it to me. So I've got a folder of all years of programs. The only time that didn't happen was in the this one here. So that was Tunbridge Wells, Shirley Ballast for Evo, but it was like just coming out of COVID. So they didn't have programs because they didn't want people to, be necessarily touching things. So they did an online program. So I've got like an address where it's got an online thing, but so I don't have one from that year, but they can't sign a computer screen, can you?
No.
But I've got the rest of them, and as I said, occasionally I'll come across them and I'll go, oh yeah, let's look at this one from 10 years ago and see who was in it and what they're doing now and that sort of thing. So that's really nice to keep track on, because I know not a lot of, but some theatres now don't do programs as much, but it's just a nice thing to physically look at over the years. So I always like that's my last night thing, kind of get everyone to do that. Occasionally I'll get them to sign the bills as well and then put them on the wall, but a lot of people sign over their own face and I'm like, I can't put that on the wall if you got but yeah, so it's good.
I mean, that is so nice to have those memories. I mean, I collect the programs and get people to sign them as well, but the only thing is I look back and go, oh my goodness, haven't I put some weight on?
Well, luckily, my headshots in them are like usually silly headshots. So when there's all the actors and the everyone's like proper headshot, and there's normally me like something like this in them. So even if I look back, I'm like, I look silly anyway, so that's fine.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough, fair enough. Now, since we last spoke to you, Damien, you've done another Panto production. You did Cinderella, didn't you, last year, which is on the wall. I was having a little
Yes.
sneaky look just to make sure I've got it right. Cinderella.
Yeah.
How did it go to start with? Tell us how it went.
Very well. I mean, lots of people probably know it was supposed to be in the Octagon Theatre in Yeovil, but the Octagon closed down for a refurb, and then once it closed, the costs spiraled and the crisis in the UK and all this. So they've had to close the Octagon for a good few years. They were going to update it, and so the Panto moved for a couple of years to the what was it called, Westlands in Yeovil.
Yeah.
So it was very different because the Westlands is more set up for like comedians and like one-man shows. So there's one person on the stage and there's 800 seats. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So Evo put a production on there and it was fantastic production. It's just there's not a lot of wing space, so we had to put like one of these big lorries out the back and keep it there. So every time there was a scene change, the curtain would open, stuff would go in the lorry, you'd whip it back again throughout the show. So how they managed to do it, it was amazing. I mean, we had all sorts of pyrotechnics and scenery and kitchen sets, and it was Cinderella, so there's a lot of sets, but they managed to pull it off, and it was really good to kind of see how a venue like that can be turned into a big production when they're not used to such big lavish productions. So
I knew it.
Great.
Yeah, I knew it had obviously changed venue, but I didn't realize that your wings were a lorry. That is the first I've heard of this. This is really interesting. Did it make much difference from the audience?
There was no backstage. The backstage was a lorry, and then there was two wings that you could kind of stand on, but there was set around you, and then there was two dressing rooms either side of the stage. So other than that, you couldn't really walk backstage without walk across the back of the stage without going out of a fire door, round the lorry, and into the other one.
Wow.
So it was, as I said, a credit to Evo because they managed to put on a production, whereas if the theatre had closed, the Octagon, they wouldn't have been able to. But it was great to see how you could fit something like a big show into that venue. And it was fantastic. The rest of the cast were great. I hadn't done Cinderella doing Dandini before. I'd always been something like a broker's man or an ugly sister I've done as well. But this time I was Dandini, and normally you think, oh, it's very posh. Dandini's, one of the serious characters, but they write it in such a way it's level 2, if not more physical comedy than Buttons. So I don't have to carry the story so much like Buttons does and fall in love, but I get all the wacky faces, all the prince. Oh, I've got to be the prince and all that. So it was great to play a different part. I think I've done it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know, 5 times over the years, and almost every time, I've been some sort of different part. So it was great to have another go at a different part.
So you just need to do Cinderella now to tick them all off. That's what you're saying.
Exactly. Cinderella would be nice. So I think
Damien,
that's literally the one I've done the most, but it's the most enjoyable one in lots of different ways.
Yeah, and lots of people always will come and watch Cinderella, and as you say, that's why producers put that one on. I am fascinated to know what your difference, you started alluding to this, what your difference was between playing Dandini and playing the prince, because again, unless you've lived under a rock, you'll understand that Dandini becomes the prince, obviously, for the story of Cinderella. Not Disney. Everyone gets confused and goes, well, who's Dandini? That's not in it. The traditional one that is obviously we're talking about. So how did you do the difference with keeping that comedy alive? Because as you say, the prince is very serious sometimes. I bet you didn't play it like that, did you?
No, well, so we had a prince, very good, and we had myself, and obviously there was the sash, and we were both already dressed nice and royally. And then when I came on for my first scene with the prince, I was obviously my wacky, oh, welcome the Prince Charming, here he is. And then when the idea comes across, like the prince says, oh, I need to be a commoner to find, people to treat me normally, see if I can find a girlfriend or a wife. He gives me the sash, and I'm like, and I literally kind of the same character, but I go, what? I can't be a prince. Oh my goodness. Oh. And then I try and talk posh, but in a funny way, like, oh, hello, like this. So I'm having a comedy scene with him about trying to be posh. And then when we meet another set of characters to give out the invitations, I'm just outrageously over the top trying to be posh. Hello, welcome, I'd like you to invite. Like, so I'm not playing it serious, like, oh yes, lots of physicality. As I said, with all my performances, I give it a lot of physicalness, but we soon change back in Act 2. It opens with the ball, and then Cinderella comes in, and she thinks I'm the prince, and I go, oh no, this is the Prince Charming, and then I'm back to my usual self. So it was, as I said, it was really fun to do, because I've not done, I've never dressed so poshly on stage. I tell you, beautiful. But yeah, it was really nice to play a different part, but still keep that comedy running through it. Whereas a lot of people would take on that part maybe and try and be serious from the get-go. But
yeah, I mean, because I've done Dandini a couple of times myself, and as you say, sometimes it's written in a way that it's like, no, you must be serious now because you are the prince, and that's how it was written for me. It's wonderful to sit here that you went over the top, actually, because actually, if we think about it, that's what he would do, because he doesn't know how to behave as such.
Exactly. So the prince is, he's straight down the line. He's being posh. He's being himself. And then if you the scene between the two of them is usually quite a long scene, because you're setting up the change of the characters and all that. So if it was two people playing it kind of the same, that's one way to go. But if it's two people contrasting each other, like the best mate, but he's trying to be serious, and yeah, it just works. It worked really well. So
yeah,
I'd play that part again. That's how much I enjoyed it. It was very nice, very enjoyable. And,
good.
And then I had a ballroom scene as well, which another posh costume. Very nice. I liked it.
And something different, as you say, because sometimes you don't. Well, probably not before. You've not had the chance to become in those scenes before and to enjoy yourself as those characters.
Exactly. I did a broker's man, as I said, or a VAT man. I was trying to get the rent and the VAT in Belfast for Cinderella, and we came on and we were, oh, where are they? Oh my goodness! And then we did like a comedy, like the radio gag or something like this, ice cream routine. So that was one version, and then another one I did Cinderella, and that's wacky anyway, but you're supposed to be wacky, so it's nice to take a character which people don't expect to be funny, and as I said, put that spin on it. So yeah.
Yeah, exciting.
It turned out to be one of my favorite goes at Cinderella. Like I said, I've done 5, but this was really enjoyable, and the way it was written, the whole show, the way it was written was just slightly different to how you expect, but really engaging, and it's Cinderella, so it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, and I still I know we've already moved on as such. I can't get over that you were using a lorry as your changing like set area. Did the audience walk in if they maybe knew that venue were like, hang on a minute, this is what have they done? How have they managed to put this show on in this space?
When you get in the venue, when you get in the venue, you wouldn't know any different. You see you've got a light up proscenium arch that they put on, and the layers that they put in the theatre when the curtains open. From the front, it's just a normal show, and I say a normal show, a normal lavish production of Cinderella. But from backstage, big lorry on the behind the back curtain. So the big sets would go in there at the interval, and maybe halfway through a scene change, they'd open the curtain, do this and do that, but through a dance, so you couldn't hear it. And then the sides of the stage had, I think it was the kitchen scenes in. So when the kitchen was on stage, you could walk backstage and go to the other side. But when the kitchen was off stage, you'd have to make sure you were the side of the stage that you needed to be, because you couldn't cross unless you wanted to go out the building. But the stage crew there were fantastic. You wouldn't have known from the front anything was being moved or shoved in or wheeled. Like I said, credit to them to make it so seamless in a theatre you're not used to doing that in.
Yeah.
So
And I mean,
yeah,
there's always
that's
credit to, and I'm hopefully one of the people that always shout out, the backstage people work so incredibly hard during Panto, in general, in in theatre, but especially through Panto. They don't get the applause like we do, and they don't get the recognition sometimes. And it sounds like your guys were as brilliant as most people are in the theatre.
they were great. I mean, half of them worked for the Octagon already. Some of them were brought in by Evolution, so they all worked together well. And sound on that venue was created for a show like this. If you look up Westlands, you'll see loads of shows, but it's all like Julian Clary and Alan
Mm,
Carr, and just comedy shows, maybe disco nights and things like this. But you don't usually see a massive production. So
yeah,
how everyone pulled together so well to put it on. It gave Yeovil a show when their usual theatre isn't open, and
yeah.
hopefully the Octagon will be open again in a few years. It's just they've had to rearrange what they're going to do with it. And if anyone looks it up, you'll see the big, I don't know how, £10 million plan that had to change because of costs. And oh my goodness, so I'm
Mm.
not entirely sure when they're going to open again, but it will open. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, keep an eye on that because there's lots of people that like to support theatres. Maybe they've got a donation page or something. Keep an eye on it. Be something we'll definitely be keeping an eye on Panto Archive. Damien, when you were creating this show, then, and you had all this in the back of your mind that you're in a new venue, you're not going to be able to swap sides necessarily. How quick on in the rehearsal process did that start affecting the direction and the sort of making side of it? As you say, like, oh, I've got to come off this way. Oh, is that going to cause a problem? Was that annoying, or did it just sort of naturally happen because you all know that's what you had to achieve?
We rehearsed it exactly the same as you would. We were in the theatre, but in a room upstairs in a big,
Mm,
like meeting room space, and we just did what we needed to do to rehearse the show. And then when we got on stage and the set started happening, like the tech, for instance, you would then find out if you went off stage and you couldn't get to where you needed to be.
mm,
That's when you would change something around. Like, can I go off the other side of the stage, or can I just stay in that dressing room over there until the interval? The only one time I had to stay on one side of the stage rather than the other was I go off from giving people the invitations one side of the stage, and then you couldn't get across the stage because the carriage was waiting to go on behind the
mm,
curtain, so you couldn't cross. So either you could stay in this side's dressing room or just walk around the building. And touch
mm.
wood, it never rained or thundered or anything like that, so I could walk around the building without getting the complete costume wet. And then as long as the other fire door we remembered to open,
Mhm.
we could go in and then get to our dressing room fine. So there wasn't actually a big issue from the actress's point of view. It was more stage crew trying to work out how we can put these things on and off and give us more space
Mm.
during the show without causing any upset to what's happening on stage. So
Yeah.
it was, as I said, mostly backstage wise and tech.
Credit again to the backstage crew and so on. Damien, last time you were with us, you spoke about how you normally get pretty messy every time you're near enough on stage. Did it happen again this year, or did you get away with it?
No, because Cinderella is such a big spectacle, and there's coaches and there's transformations, and it snowed in the audience and all this.
Oh wow.
It wasn't like it wasn't a version that was written in. Like, we didn't need an ice cream scene or a splosh
Mm,
gag or a water routine. It was just, as I said, there was so much going on already, and it's the fairy tale, isn't it? It's
mm,
everyone knows Cinderella version of it. If it's the Disney one or Panto, it's probably the most famous one. So you don't need to put in a big splosh routine in the middle of Act Two for no reason. But it was the fact that it snowed in the audience as well. That was great, and the scene change and the usual pyrotechnics. I think that just did everything for it. There was still the comedy there. We had the sisters doing different dances and songs that you wouldn't sometimes find. So yeah, but I didn't get messy. Hot and sweaty with a waistcoat and a jabot and everything on like this. So I got a bit hot and messy off stage, but no pies. I'll save that for the rest of the year this year, because obviously my own show, I get very messy when I'm touring.
Yes, I was going to say you're used to getting messy. I was going to say, has it made you think, you know what, I don't want to get messy anymore? Or you already gone, nah, I'm back in it again?
No, I mean, I'll do anything for Panto. If they want to write me in a massive splosh scene, great. I tour my own one-man show throughout the year. I make sure I get messy in that. Like there's a version where the audience end up, pieing me, or I might slip over or something like this. So, as I said, because of the family heritage and the Chuckle brothers and my dad and the Patton brothers, all that, everyone knows them for getting messy. Keep the tradition going.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind at all. Some people shy away from it. No. If you want to get me wet or pied or anything, go for it. Like yesterday, I was on stage and I had 3 guys with, I think, a couple of custard pies each, and they weren't supposed to, but they ended up just all getting me at once. So I came off and I was just covered in foam and plates and all sorts. So
yeah.
So that was good.
How wonderful though. But yeah, it gets wonderful reactions, and it's what the kids still like. I mean, when I was growing up, it was the Chuckle Brothers, it was Dick and Dom in the Bungalow, all those sort of things where you were just seeing people getting gunged and pied in the face. And actually, I think sometimes nowadays we go, oh no, children don't want that. They're too intellectual as such. But actually they do, don't they, Damien? That's all they want.
Yeah. I've every time I go on stage and there's kids there, the best routine still for my show is, the biggest laughs are when those pies come out. And that's not just the kids. Sometimes I'll be performing at 9 o'clock at night and then the pies don't come out until the end. So it's like, 9:45. It still gets the best reaction with the adults. So it's not just about the kids. It's all ages. I can be on, like tonight. I mean, we're filming this. I don't know when it's going out, but we're filming this when the Euros are on. Mm-hmm. And tonight, it was recorded when the semi-finals are on. I'm having to go on ridiculously early, something like 6:30 tonight, because otherwise I'd be in the middle of the football. So I'll have a completely different audience to, let's say, yesterday when I was on at 9 o'clock, which is more, slightly more grown-up kids and adults. So it'll be like little ones tonight, but it still gets same kind of, he's getting messy, and oh my goodness. I use a people might have seen there's a banana routine. You end up mushing up and all this. That gets a good reaction as well. Anything messy, anything fun, magic or whatever, it always gets good reactions. The way you sell it as well. Like some people would, you might have seen a show with a splosh scene and you go, oh, they didn't really get that messy. So I mean, you got to commit.
Yeah, definitely. I 100% agree. Damien, now, obviously, maybe people, again, have been living under a rock or something, but you are one of our Hall of Fame people with your family, which is always so wonderful to look through all your history. You got it there on the shelf? Yes. Well done. It's there. Lovely. And you've been joined since then by our lovely Rolo and Richard Cadell and Sooty as well. Do you tell people about it? Is it still something that you talk about, that you're in the Hall of Fame?
Because Panto is a big part of my career, and it has been my family's career as well. I've always got it. Like, if you look at my social medias or my info about it, I've got a little like, oh, hi, I'm Damian Patton and uncles of the Chuckle Brothers, whatever. And then I've also got inductee into the Panto Hall of Fame, Panto Archive kind of thing on there. So people can see if they're looking me up, certainly. And then, I mean, I don't come out and say it in my show throughout the year, but you can't really shoehorn that one in. But yeah, no. It's definitely something, I'm proud of. The things in my office. I know my dad tells people he had his 90th birthday party in December, this last December, Brian Patton, and there was a speech, and obviously there was a lot of people there from his life, and he made sure it was in that. He said, yes, I'm part of the, so he's very proud of it as well, and I'm sure Paul is. So yeah, it was just an honor to be thought about in that way. And from seeing all the Pantos they've done in the past that you can look at on your page, you'll see Paul and Barry and then the Chuckles and my dad and Jimmy, they've got like 56 going on, and
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you can
It
see.
is an amazing. If you haven't looked, and yours is building as well now, Damien. Your list is flying up on there as well. The reason I ask this is not just to be a bit big-headed and check that you're still talking about us all the time. Is it's just to check in with people, because sometimes I think people think that Panto is just, the thing that you do at Christmas. It's very easy, and and if any Panto person, you're like, how dare you say such a thing? I think people sometimes think it's just a bit of fun, that it just writes itself. You turn up and it happens. Tell us about the hard work that goes into maybe your routine if you're playing the comic. Maybe it's not always easy because someone said, "Oh, we've done that joke before." How is that side of it? The hard work of Panto.
Well, you get a script, and depending on the subject, depends what's in it. You might be asked if there's anything you'd like to put in the show before the script's written, or a routine, or a certain joke. So in the past, there's been a lot of routines in it that I've already known and have done throughout the year. So, for instance, one show I was in, which was a Cinderella as well, the producer said, "We'd like you to put in a couple of gags. What can you offer us?" And then those gags was something like the version that I did of the radio routine and the version of the ice cream that I do. So people might have heard of them and seen them, but it's obviously you make it your own. So that was quite easy because you didn't need to rehearse this gag because you know it so well. It could just slot in the show. Whereas other times you'll have a routine, a comedy routine, but it's new to you. So you have to make sure you've got kind of a rapport with the other person you're doing it with. So you can bounce off each other and you know it inside out. So if something goes wrong on stage, you just play off it. Or if it goes wrong, it doesn't matter. The audience won't know. You just carry on in a different way. Or if it's a custard pie routine and you fall over, you might not have fallen over there before. As long as they know to go, oh, you start laughing and they'll laugh rather than go, oh, are you okay? Do you need to stop? So as long as you know who you're doing it with and how the routine works or how the story goes, you'll be fine before you open. So if you haven't rehearsed it enough in rehearsals, you get together with that person in the evening or at lunch and just do it till you're comfortable. And that as well with the script and the lines, that's the hardest part, is making sure these new lines that you've got flow so nicely that you're not going to get in trouble on stage. Whereas I find the routine wise, the comedy wise, the best bit rather than stressful. I'm like, oh, I'm excited to get into this, let's give it a go. So yeah, as long as you're confident with what you're doing, I think you'll all be fine, and you get that script nice and early so you can learn the bits that you have to.
Yeah, the reason I ask is because I think, as I say, lots of people just think that you turn up and do Panto because it is so fun, because it is so silly, because there is those moments that go wrong. There's still a lot of work, isn't there? And I think sometimes
the producers are on the, as you know, they're on it now. And I did a photo shoot for the poster a couple of months, I think in May. And then I've got the launch coming up in August, September kind of time. So we all go to the theatre, and then the scripts come out at the end of September. And then so you're constantly thinking about it all year. And then you're trying to get yourself booked from January to March, April time. So it's like a constant thing in your year, not in a stressful way, in a good way for me. It's exciting to know where you are or where you're going or who you can contact. And I'm lucky enough to be with Evolution now, so I'm with them again this year, but you still have to contact them and go, fantastic, I'd love to work with you again, where I don't mind where I go, and all this sort of thing. So it's a year-long thought process, and then you're excited. We're getting into summer now. I'm excited to see the poster come out, or I'm excited to see when the script might come and who else is in the show with you. So it's a throughout the yearly thing, which is really good.
And this is why I really wanted, because when we do these cuppa chats, you talk about memories and thoughts and so on. And this is why I really wanted you to come back, because actually it is a process that you go through every single year. And sometimes we don't have time to talk about it because it is kind of natural to us. But actually, for us as performers, there is a lot of work, isn't there, that goes on, as you say, from as soon as that curtain goes down. At least I'm like, what am I doing next year? What am I? Where's the next Panto? I need to be on stage again. You start worrying a little bit, don't you, as such?
Sometimes you'll be lucky enough. I know some people during the run, they know where they are the next year, or they might have a contract with the theatre and the production team. Like, you've got a 3-year contract, so in that case you wouldn't need to worry. Whereas usually the Panto will end, and then you might send an email thanking who you've been working for, going, oh, I'd love to work with you again. Obviously, I'll contact you later in the year. It's been fantastic. And then March, April comes around, you might send another email responding to them. And then, as I said just now, it's in a good way. I'm constantly thinking about it because I'm excited about it. Mm-hmm. So it's not like a stressful thing. Where am I going to be? I want to know where I'm going to be.
Yeah.
I have no clue 1 year to the next what venue I might be in, because the company I'm working for has about 10 different venues, right the way up from York, right the way down to, London area and Maidstones and all this in Kent. So it's excitement rather than stress. You do worry sometimes, creeps into your mind. What if I'm not booked? Who do I have to contact someone else? And then that happens, fine. But then what if that person doesn't want me? And then what would I do? But then, it never happens. It's just one of those things. Until you sign that contract, you're like, oh, what would I do at Christmas?
I know it's silly, isn't it? Because you've got your links, you've got your contacts, and you know 9 out of 10 times they're going to want you back because they've already said it. But as you say, until you sign it, you're like, what am I going to do? It's silly. Damian, as you said, we're filming this on Euros evening. I don't know when it's going out, but it won't be too far behind Euros. Maybe England's won by this point. Who knows?
We should do a England's won, fantastic, well done, and then we should do it was awful, wasn't it? That's fine.
We've cut the both in there. We've cut the both in.
There you go, good.
But the reason I'm saying this for, and I don't think you're going to be able to, but can you give us any gossip for what's coming up this year?
Well, throughout the rest of the year until October, I've got my own show. Mm-hmm. And then in October, my second child's coming along. So, we're pregnant at the moment. And then October, new baby. So trying to juggle work in October half term is going to be fun with 2 little ones. A few sleepless nights. And then end of November, I'll go into Panto. I haven't done the launch for the Panto yet, so I can't tell you where I am. I can tell you I'm back with Evo again for my 4th and a half year, right? Yeah. So I've done 3 with them, actual Pantos, and then COVID time when no one did a Panto. There was a couple around the country. I was the what's it called? The if someone goes down,
the super swing as such.
That's it. I was the comic super swing, but they only had 3 Pantos on, and they all got closed down anyway because all the different things. But that's why I say 4th and a half year returning. But yeah, so I'm with Evo.
Nice.
That gives you 10 possibilities where it could be. But as soon as it's announced, I'll share it all over my socials and I'll put it on X and Facebook and all that. So
look at you being all modern, X. Look at that.
I know. Well, I do. In the end of my show, I say you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or just down the street, right? And I say that. But now I had to change it now. So I have to go now on Facebook, Instagram, and X, or just down the street. Oh, my X. It'll probably change back again, won't it? Everyone knows.
It probably will. It probably will. Damian, I must thank you so much for joining us again. But just before you go, I must admit something to you, because I saw you did it. You said you've got another little baby on the way. Congratulations as well. But I saw your photograph of you with is it little girl that you've got already? Yes, your little girl that you have taken photos with at the stage door of every Panto you've done. So actually, I just had a little one last year. So last Christmas, I was like, I'm going to nick Damian's idea. And I had one at the stage door. And I'm going to do that from now on as well, because I think that's a brilliant idea.
It's a great tradition. I mean, I'll have to have 2 this year, because one with her and one with the other, and both together. But it's like a nice little tradition just at the stage door. The first year, she was really small. She was born in February, so she was almost a year, but she came and watched most of the Panto, and that was nice. You get the stage door sign in as well. So then eventually I've got 3 now, but eventually I'll have like a whole collage to not only see how much she's grown, but to see the different. It's just another memory, It's another memory of Pantos and where you've been, and look how small you were. Do you remember this? And then it'll be slightly different this year with 2 of them, but I think I'll have one with Pepper on her own, and then one with both of them. So
you'll have to have another wall of photographs.
Yeah, I know. I'll have to stick a little square maybe in the corner of the posters of me, me and her. So, but yeah, I've got to get the next poster on the wall though. I mean, I know where I am, but as I said, I'll stick it up there.
Well, I look forward to seeing where you are as always. I thank you very much for coming on again. And don't forget, if you want to, you can go onto the Panto Archive website to see all about Damian and his incredible family. And we'll focus more on Damian this time because you're a star as well, Damian. So, but you can read about them all on there again soon. Thanks, Damian, very much.
Thank you. See you next time. Bye. Happy Pantoing.